Now, all important matters in the further questions to come. There are 2 or 3 different models of redevelopment. There is a developers model, there is a DMA model, there is a self-development model. Many societies are wanting more clarity on this because much of an information bounces around and people get confused. Let's start with the developers model. What are the important points that you would advise as safety measures for a society to take into consideration before they go for redevelopment through a developer?
Now, there are a lot of guidelines are prescribed on the society when the society desire to go for the redevelopment. Now, particularly, there is a circular dated 4th of July 2019 wherein the guidelines have been prescribed by the state government. The society is required to comply with those guidelines. So it is called as an circular issued under Section 79A of Maharashtra Cooperative Societies Act.
Is it a guideline or is it a regulation?
No, it's a guideline.
Okay.
It's a guideline issued, not a regulation. It is not an order even. So it's a guideline. So now it has been interpreted by the courts also that it is just a guidelines.
Okay.
But ideally, that guidelines is required to be followed by the society. That is what it is expected.
That becomes as an insurance.
And that guidelines is required to be followed by the society to reduce the litigation amongst the members with the members. So that is the first step, that when society is desirous to go for the redevelopment, what we normally see is whether the 79A guidelines have been complied with or not. Second very important aspect is now bothering us is about the election or the validly elected managing committee.
Absolutely.
Because what happens if there are so many judgments wherein if the development agreements are signed, if the resolutions are passed or being implemented by the managing committee, in that case also, if the committee is not validly elected, in that case, the court have held that the lacuna in your procedure, and let the first be there has to be a validly elected managing committee, and then only they should proceed further in the case of redevelopment, whatever resolution they are going to pass. Now, even the courts have held to the extent that even the managing committee calling a meeting, if the managing committee is not validly constituted, and that invalid managing committee calling a meeting of a general body, and that general body is taking any decision, but still the court has said that even that invalid managing committee even cannot call a meeting also.
Oh.
So, validly elected managing committee is equally important. Then it comes to, even when the meetings are conducted, see, normally, ideally, we always give the suggestions to the societies that if you are going to pass any important resolution with respect to the redevelopment, better to have a videography done, so that tomorrow nobody can give a complaint or exactly what you come to know that what have transpired in that meeting, whether the members have consented for particular resolution or not. So then the meeting which have to be conducted in a proper way. Like only members should be permitted to attend. The members should come, members should sign their attendance sheet. Then the resolution, whenever is passed, it has to be supported by somebody. It is not that the resolution is passed as it is. It has to be passed, proposed and seconded by somebody. So all these things are there. And the proceeding of the minutes, whatever resolutions are passed, is required to be written immediately by the secretary, so that even when he sits for the drafting of the resolutions, at that time he should have an handy in his hand that what resolution was passed at particular time. Then it comes for the proper maintenance of the record. Now what happened, apart from, as I said, that the validly elected committee is required, now the registrar also looked after whether your accounts are properly audited, whether not only audited, whether the accounts are filed with the registrar's office, whether if any objections have been taken or any shortcomings are being pointed out by the auditor. In that case, the form O, that is called as a compliance of the objections which is taken by the auditor or it has been observed by the auditor in the accounts, those compliance reports are also required to be filed, So all these things also looked after by the registrar. So proper maintenance of the record, plus that record will include the maintenance of the proper minute books, the members register, nomination register, the shareholders register, and all other statutory, like keeping the bylaws, keeping all the papers and documents of the society related to the building. All the records are required to be properly maintained. Next important point would be, Pankaj bhai, there has to be a transparency in dealing with the developer.
Absolutely.
Correct. See what happens now. Suppose the managing committee, if they themselves or some of the managing committee, they themselves hold a private secret meetings with the developers. In that case, it is very difficult for the member to believe those managing committee members. See, actually the redevelopment is totally a subject of trust, and if the trust is broken, it's broken for always.
True.
So if your members losing their faith in the managing committee, then it is very difficult, because the dealing with the developer has to be done in a very transparent way. If possible, whatever discussion is taking place, let it be taken place in presence of all the members. In the meeting, even when conducted, let the developer be called in that meeting. Whatever negotiations are taken place, it has to take place before the members only, instead of the general body meetings.
Then would it not be prudent to have professionals like a PMC or a legal advisor all the time during the entire process, right from the beginning, so that they can handhold, guide, advise, and sail them through?
Of course, if you see the guidelines issued under 79A, the first thing what is prescribed is that the project management consultant and the lawyer is required to be appointed to guide. It is the word is to guide the society for the purpose of redevelopment. So that has been prescribed, and that is required to be done in a very first meeting itself. Then thereafter, under their guidance only, the society should proceed further. Because see, society would like to, first of all, the feasibility report is required, as we'll discuss it also. So that feasibility report also is very important. Based on that, the entire development will be decided, that on which way the development will be taking place. Yeah.
I've seen many places where the developer is being asked to quote first, and then they appoint the professionals. What are your take on that?
That is absolutely wrong, I would say. First, the feasibility report is required to be prepared. Then the offer of the developer is required to be compared with that feasibility report. Now, sometimes what happens, Pankaj bhai, you must have come across many things wherein the fraud developer would give an offer which is not feasible only.
Absolutely.
Which cannot be even, with that offer, your development cannot take place, or you will be stuck somewhere.
Yes.
So, it is definitely that such offers have to be accepted, or it has to be compared by the PMC, and the guidance of the PMC is required.
Okay. Now, what are the steps that you would suggest for a developer to be appointed by a society?
Very important, sir, that first of all, that you need to see the background of the developer. Now, see, I'll tell you, there are few developers with which you will blindly love to deal with them, and there are few developers, their names are such that you will be afraid with dealing with them. And any developer to whom you are not known, the background is required. Now, how to find out the background? Only that background can be found out with the help of legal persons only, like PMC, like lawyers, or with the help of their own documents, like their financial status. The auditors can audit their financial status, correct? If they have a sufficient finance or not, that developer company. Then who are the partners of that developer firm. Now their background. Now sometimes what happens, there are the directors are facing criminal actions for violations. Sometimes the firms are facing the legal actions for the winding up. So all these backgrounds is very important before we deal with that such type of developers. Their financial status, the background of the directors, partners, pending litigations, their financial audits, and ultimately, as I said earlier, the evaluation of the offer with the help of the PMC, that is also very equally important before any society go for the appointment of the developer.